Hi guys. So in our previous video, we have started Zipkin container, and we can access this Zipkin from this localhost 9411. But when we query this Zipkin server, we don't see any traces over here. That's because we haven't added Micrometer dependencies in our Spring Boot project. So in this video, we'll add those dependencies. So what is Micrometer basically? So Micrometer is a tool that helps developers keep track of how their microservices are performing. So it does this by collecting and displaying data about things like response times, errors, and how many requests are being made. Think of it as a dashboard for a car. So you can think of it as a dashboard in your car which gives you all the information about your car's performance basically. So we'll add these dependencies in our Spring Boot project. So we'll add these dependencies in our root POM, as all of our microservices need will need monitoring basically. So we have this dependencies tag over here in which we'll add the dependencies, so that it these dependencies will be accessible for all of our projects. So we'll add this Micrometer observation dependency, Micrometer tracing bridge brave dependency, and Zipkin reporter brave dependency. So what are all these dependencies? So this Micrometer observation maven dependency is responsible for making observations, which are way of measuring and recording metrics in Spring Boot application. So basically, by using Micrometer observation dependency, you can collect and report metrics from your application to various monitoring backends. So in this case, we'll be sending these metrics to Zipkin dashboard. Then what is this Micrometer tracing bridge brave dependency? So this is used for tracing your Spring Boot application. So tracing is a way of seeing what happened and how long it took to happen in your application, such as when web request is made or database is accessed. So this will actually trace your requests which are coming from end user and within your microservices. So this helps to debug and optimize your application basically. So what's the difference between Micrometer observation and bridge brave dependency? So the first one, observation, is used for tracking metrics information, and the second one is used for tracing your application. So it actually traces the request coming into our application. And the third dependency, Zipkin reporter brave dependency, is used for sending the traces that are collected by Micrometer tracing bridge brave dependencies to Zipkin backend. So Zipkin backend uses the collected data and show it on the web interface. So these three dependencies we have added, and additionally we would need to add this actuator dependency, Spring Boot actuator dependency, for monitoring health and various management features of your microservices. So let's just add this. Then going further, we need to do some configuration into your application. So whichever services wants to be enabled for monitoring, for those services we need to do some additional configuration. So this particular configuration is for sampling the data. So whatever traces are being sampled, they will be sampled based on this property. So if you set it to 1.0, it will sample all the data from collected from our micrometer. Otherwise, if you set it to zero point 0.1, which is default value, it will only sample 10% of the collected data. So in our case, we'll set it to 1.0. And as we are using REST template and Fein client as well. So currently we are using Fein client to communicate between the services. So for REST template, you don't need to do additional configuration. No any additional configuration required for sampling the data. But if you are using Fein client, then in that case you need to do some additional configuration. You need to add this Micrometer capability bin in order to collect the data uh, when when this OpenFin client calls happen. So for that you just need to add this dependency. So I'm just copying this and adding it to dependencies tag of our parent pom. So I hope this dependencies part is done, and we are remaining with this configuration part. So let's just copy this bin, and whichever microservices are there, we'll just create uh, this bean. So in this customer config, we just need to inject this bean. So this is coming from Fane and meter registry, micrometer, micrometer capability, Fane.micrometer. So this bin will be injected when this application will be started. Then we need to add it in this fraud detection service as well. So here we don't have any config class, so let's just add it. Fraud config, and let's just annotate it with configuration and create this bean. So here also we don't have dependencies imported. So this bin will be injected in fraud service as well. Let's just copy this bin and copy this class and create it into notification service as well. So here we'll just copy it and rename it to notification config. Yeah, so our bean will be injected for the Fein clients, and we need to do this configuration, uh, this tracing, sampling configuration, and logging configurations. This logging configuration will be adding this additional information, trace ID and span ID into the log file. So we need to add this configuration in our all of the services application.yaml file. So let's just add it here. We need to add it in fraud detection service as well. Just save it. And finally notification service as well. So our configuration for Micrometer is done, and in a next video we'll see how to I will just demo this Zipkin dashboard to you. Thank you.